Hi all you wonderful people, I'm Robin. Welcome back to my channel, or maybe for the first time, hello. And if you are new here, or if you're coming back again, go ahead, hit that little subscribe button down below. Over here, you know where it is, you've seen it before. Or don't, I'm not your boss, can't tell you what to do. Today I will be giving you my July wrap up, and I think I got through 8 books. I didn't DNF any books. I read everything. Proud of myself. There wasn't anything terrible this month, so good for me, I guess.
So let's just get right into it, shall we?
I will start off with my favorite to least favorite. We'll start off with the good. My favorite, and it's been everywhere, is The Vanishing Half by Britt Bennett. So this book is all over BookTube, and for good reason, because it is so good, so good. I gave this 5 stars, and I think it will probably be in my top books of the year. I just can't see a lot dethroning this book. It was good. But it follows 2 sisters, Desiree and Stella, who grow up in this town in the South where everyone is light and almost white passing. I think everyone is white passing in the town. No, not everyone, but everyone is very light skinned. And that's the foundation of the town. The founder of the town was only light-skinned black people can live here. And so Stella and Desiree escape from this town for different reasons, and then it goes on to see how their lives diverge from there. Stella goes on to live this life passing as a white person, and she keeps the secret with her for her whole life. Things happen where Desiree and Stella end up splitting and going on to lead very separate lives. But Desiree ends up having to come back to this town and raise her daughter, who is the very opposite of everything in this town. She's very, very dark-skinned, and people make fun of her. She's ostracized in the town, and she has a terrible time there. It's not great for her. Meanwhile, Stella also went and lived a new life, and she's now living as a white woman, and she's just trying to live her best life. But while she's trying to live her best life, she's fearful every day that someone will figure out that she's not white. Her husband doesn't know, and it consumes her life. I will say that the first third of the book was a little slow for me, I guess. I just couldn't get into Desiree's story in the beginning, and I couldn't get into just the overall feel of it. But as soon as they left this town that they were in, it picked up. I was so interested, especially in Stella's story, because I just can't imagine how exhausting it must be to pretend you're someone else for your whole life. How much energy do you put into that every single day? Couldn't be me, because I'm lazy, but there's that. Even the side characters were just so interesting. Jude ends up having a relationship with this guy Reese, and his backstory is so interesting, and Desiree ends up having her own relationship with a guy named Early. Stella's daughter, I actually don't remember her name. Kennedy, that was her name. I almost didn't remember her name because Kennedy was slightly insufferable, and I understood kind of why, but also I was just you are annoying, and I don't need you. I don't need you in this for much longer. But I would have taken a story about Jude and Reese's relationship, or even like Reese's backstory. Early, I could have had a whole book about Early. He was good too. It was good. If you have not read this yet, I don't know why you're still here, but you need to go read it. My second 5-star of the month was Warcross by Marie Lu. This is the first in a duology. The second is Wild Card. Yes. I mentioned this book in my series I need to finish because I really, really like this. It was so good. It was paced really, really well, and it just like took me there. But I'm not sure whether I want to continue or not. I'm still on the fence. So somebody tell me if Wild Card is good and whether I should continue. But this follows a girl gamer and hacker in this Warcross world, and she gets the attention of the creator of Warcross, and he asks her to help him capture somebody who's trying to hack into the world and do harm to the people in it. Now, this is messy in a good way. In a good way. You don't even realize it's messy until the end, which even better. I will say in the middle, I kind of realized like, oh, I know where this is going. But damn it if I wasn't still surprised at the end, and I was just like, yep, that was me. That was me, just at the end. I really enjoyed this, and I just want to see more from not just the main characters, because I do want to see more from them. I want to see how their relationship progresses after like the reveal, but I also want to see more from the other characters because they were funny. Some of them were really sweet. It was a good time. I liked this a lot. I read More Than Enough by Elaine Welteroth. I gave this 4 stars, and I listened to it on audiobook. I like listening to memoirs and autobiographies when they're read by the author because you can just get more of their personality in it. They're reading it as they intended it to be read. Yes. And so it's good to hear the emphasis that they place on certain things. But Elaine Welteroth was the first Black editor-in-chief at Teen Vogue, and she was also the second Black person in Condé Nast history to have like that title of editor-in-chief. This chronicles her growing up in a small town in California where she is growing up biracial. Her dad is white and her mom is Black. And at the time, she was neither Black enough for the Black kids and she was too Black for the white kids. So she was trying to figure out where she fit in, how she defined her Blackness. And then it's not just in her personal life that she had to figure that out, but in college and while she's progressing through her career in the media industry, she has to figure that out. And also being a woman, what does that mean and how you navigate that space to make sure that you are seen and heard. It was so good. I loved the career aspect of it, but I also love that she infused some of her personal life into it. So all too often we see or we read memoirs about how people are successful, but we don't really get a lot of their backstory and the things that are happening behind their personal life, because you see this woman like Elaine Welteroth and you assume that she's got like everything going for her, but she touches on her insecurities, failures in relationships that she had, and things that she learned from it. And I just thought it was so great. For me, I think we're about a similar age, so it was like talking to a friend where we had shared experiences. But I think that this would be great, especially for like a teen girl, just like starting off, like trying to figure out who they are. Like, it was just good. I recommend this for everybody because it was good and inspiring and I loved it. I will say though, because it was an audiobook, people probably thought it was very enchanting and endearing, but I did not super appreciate like her parents' bits of it. Like they would have maybe one or two liners and it would be them speaking, and I was like, this isn't really necessary. It almost like distracted me in a way, and I was just like,
Wait, what?
that's not her voice, but you know, I dealt with it, and it was so minor and insignificant, and I'm sure other people find it very charming and endearing. I also listened to Pillars of the Earth by Ken Follett, and this is the first in the Kingsbridge series. Now, I didn't think I was going to read this. I really thought I was going to quit because, one, it was a 40-hour audiobook.
40 hours.
But I really did. I listened to every single second of it in 2 times speed. But that's not the point. That's still 20 hours. That was 20 hours of my whole life that I devoted to this one book. And it was good. It did not disappoint. I had no idea that monks and earls and peasant people had this much drama in 1100 medieval Europe over building cathedrals and land. And let me tell you, those people are all messy. All of them. The monks, the builders, they're all backstabbers. All of them. They're all liars and cheats. And I loved it. Loved it so much. So it follows different people, but who all end up being intertwined in some way. But it circles around building churches in this one area. And so people are fighting over ownership of land, and the monks and bishops are fighting over who gets to be like the next bishop, head bishop dude. I really don't know like the hierarchy of that. So I will say that there's nothing terribly graphic in the book, except there are multiple rape scenes where it is detailed, and I understand why it was in there, but at the same time I was like, this is a lot. And if I could have, I would have gone into the book and killed the person, the rapist, myself, because he was trash. And his ending just was not satisfying enough. I feel like they should have dragged him through the streets by his insides. But that's just me. But yes, this book was compelling, and it kept my attention. It was interesting. It gave you little nuggets of history in there, and I really enjoyed it. I think I will try to read the next one. I don't remember what that one's called, but I think I'll give it a try. I don't know if it follows the same characters or if it like starts with a whole new story, but I'm interested. If Ken Follett continues as he did in this first one, I think it'll be a good time. Also in the 4-star category is Aurora Rising by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff. I'm probably the only person that hasn't read this. I admit it. I take ownership of that. And I don't know why I hadn't. You know why I hadn't? Because there's so many books in the world to read that you can't read them all right when they come out. Some of them have to wait. But this was good. It was a ragtag team of misfits who were trying to find out the answer to a mystery. And I still don't think we found the answer to the mystery because this is just the first one in a series. It starts off with Tyler, who is like the golden boy of his space academy, and he goes off to save Aurora. And in saving Aurora, he ends up missing the ceremony where they like pick their space teams, and he gets like the last of the last, except for his sister and his best friend who stick by him no matter what. And they are traipsing through the galaxy trying to figure out how Aurora survived being on the ship for 200 and something years and why she is so important to the galaxy. I love that there are multiple point of views in this. You not only follow Tyler and Aurora, but you follow everybody that is part of this this team. And in doing that, you kind of get the perspective of how everyone feels about each other. I appreciated that. There was one character that I felt like I just needed more from, and I wish I had more. I hope there's more from her. I think her name was Mila. In the next, I think that was her name. Don't quote me on that. But I hope there's more from her in the next book. Something that did kind of, it was like a love-hate thing. So they had this banter within the group, which I thought was funny, and I loved it, but it became too much at points when it was like, all right, you guys, I need you guys to focus and figure out how to get over this next obstacle and not make jokes every 3 seconds, because like, let's get on with it. We don't have to make a joke about everything every single time. Don't have to do it. But other than that, I really, really liked it, and I will definitely be continuing on with this series, maybe 4.5, depending on how I feel on the day. The next book I read was Kindred by Octavia E. Butler. I read this as part of the Octavia E. Butler slow read-along that is hosted by Jerry at Onyx Pages, Musical Tati, and Sister Sci-Fi. I gave this 3 stars, and that's not bad by any means, but I just wanted to love this so much because people love Octavia E. Butler, and I wanted to love her too, and I'm hoping that I still will. This is science fiction following a 26-year-old woman in 1970s, and she suddenly finds herself on a plantation in 1815 in Maryland. And she is trying to figure out how she got there and why she keeps going back. And she finds out that she's tied to this plantation owner, and she keeps coming back to like save him in his life. And then she realizes that in order for her to actually end up, being, she has to make it so that he has relation with this black girl that he is friends with when he's a child. So she keeps going back. Things get worse and worse and worse. It's terrible because
Slavery, hello.
1815, it's not like it was a good time. I enjoyed the writing. I enjoyed the pacing. I did not enjoy the characters. None of the characters were especially likable. I didn't find myself rooting for anybody. And even the main character, I wanted her to get back to 1970 something and not keep going back to slavery times. But even when she was in slavery times, it's like you have the knowledge of what slavery was like, and yet you go back and you expect people to act different, to have more compassion for black people, and I was confused. I was very confused. There would be times when it would be like, okay, you understand the struggle, you understand what's going on. And there would be other times where she would just be like, but why is it like this? I don't understand. And I'd be like, I don't. One of the other characters in this is her husband, who was white. And they, as a couple, they are also, it seems like they are confused about some of the things that happen, like, and I'm just like, I know that in 1976, an interracial couple is still not widely accepted. So I don't understand how you're confused about what's going on in present 1850. Like, do you not have your own challenges in 1970 something? Do you guys not talk about these racial issues in your relationship? Other than that, I will definitely be continuing on with the read-along because I think that this was her first published works, and so I imagine, she's beloved, so obviously her writing gets better, and I'm hoping to enjoy everything else that she's written. And now for my 2 stars. I read and listened to Room by Emma Donoghue. This tells the story of a 5-year-old boy and his mother who have been held captive by this man for all of the little boy's life. He's only known room. He has never been outside. He doesn't even know what outside is. And so his mother has created this world in room for him. But one day they happen to escape from room, and it sets a wild adventure for the little boy Jack. He is learning. It was interesting to see someone learn the world when they already think that they know what part of their world is. And so he met his grandparents and other family members, and he'd start to see like people, and he was like, wow, people, I didn't know that they were real besides you and me and the old man that kept us captive. And it's actually told through Jack's voice. And I think that's where it lost me. I get that it was interesting experiencing the world through Jack, but I would have been much more interested in experiencing it from his mother's point of view. Even if it was a dual point of view where Jack was learning about the world, but his mother was also trying to like process her thoughts and feelings. But instead, the mother was processing her feelings through like how Jack perceived it, and it just didn't resonate as much with me. And then he didn't, obviously he's a 5-year-old boy, so he didn't get how other adults were perceiving him and why people were talking to him the way that they were talking to him, and it kind of got a little annoying, and I didn't really particularly enjoy it. And I wanted to enjoy it because it sounded really interesting, but in the end it just wasn't for me. And my last 2-star was Recursion by Blake Crouch. This is an adult science fiction where people get false memory syndrome, which makes them suddenly have full, complete memories of lives that they have never lived. And it's disjointing for people because can you imagine waking up and remembering a life that you have never actually lived, but you still remember everything from your current life? It's jarring, and it sounded so interesting, and it really was. The idea behind it was interesting, the way that it happened and the way that it came about, and the person who was trying to like make it stop. That was all interesting. The plot was interesting, but then I felt like it just went on for way longer than it needed to go. There were multiple points in the book where I was like, okay, we could have ended here. The book wasn't better for continuing on. And what also didn't do it for me was there was a romance that ended up flourishing between a police officer and the neuroscientist that kind of created everything. And it didn't add to the story for me. Like, it didn't make it more compelling. It didn't make me more sympathetic for the characters. It was actually just kind of like, oh, okay. It was unnecessary. That's what it was. For me, I didn't fully enjoy it. I liked the idea and the plot, but it just didn't come together for me overall. So with that, those are the books that I read in July. I, for the most part, enjoyed what I read, and I'm definitely going to go back and probably at some point in my life reread The Vanishing Half because I feel like there are things that I didn't even get. I'm definitely continuing on with The Pillars of the Earth and Warcross and Aurora Rising, so that was great. And if you liked any of these books, or if you didn't like any of these books, or if you want to suggest something to me based on what I liked or what I didn't like, then go ahead, drop it in the comments, let me know. Give this a thumbs up, subscribe, and until next time, bye.